you'll have to think very hard about how you work in partnership with other schools, because undoubtedly the vast majority of schools will be working in all kinds of complex partnerships. And some of these will be very formal partnerships in which they'll form a federation and there'll be a shared governing body and shared staff. And others will be much looser relationships, but the partnership need not be any less deep because it's less formal. And of course, the local authorities are changing dramatically. The white paper signals very clearly that the power now lies with head teachers. They've got to drive the system. The system is moving towards self-improvement. The schools have to take responsibility for professional development. And that means they will be expecting less to be told what to do by an authority, local authority. There'll probably be fewer resources coming from the local authority. They will now have to share in partnership with probably a reduced size of local authority about how the system is going to run in that area. And that particularly means that head teachers will have to learn to come together and reach agreement about the direction of travel for the schools in that area and the nature of that partnership with the local authority. And this is something head teachers of the past didn't have to do. So head teachers of the future are going to have to be skilled in two areas where they didn't have to be particularly skilled in the past. One is how to make a partnership with other professionals, in particular other school leaders. And the other is to have a very committed view and a well-informed view about what professional development means. And that means from initial teacher training right through to the development of the most senior leaders in the school. And without a grasp of both those, because they're connected, without those, the head teacher of the future will not be a success. There's no question in my mind that there will be some new freedoms arising for head teachers from the white paper proposals. And I think that's a very good thing, because in the past we've tended to put relatively low levels of trust in head teachers because so much was top down and directed from the department. And I think the current Secretary of State genuinely believes in decentralisation and wants to put a lot of power to professionals, and in particular to head teachers, on the assumption they can make the right decisions appropriate for their local context, their local needs, and so on. At the same time, I think there's a tendency for politicians to overplay slightly the freedoms they're giving and underplay some of the constraints, because I think there still will be targets of various kinds, but they may be called by some other name. There will almost certainly still be very high levels of pressure to accountability. And I don't think those are going away. I think schools have been bedeviled by being accountable to too many disparate groups at different times, and often at too great a detail. Some of that will improve. I think that the demands of an Ofsted inspection will probably reduce. The kind of paperwork that heads have had to fill in for bureaucratic purposes, I think that will decline. But I think there's no question at all that heads, if anything, will have to become more accountable, because the old accountabilities to Ofsted, for example, won't disappear. They're still accountable to their local communities. That won't disappear. But they're going to start to be accountable to one another. There's a kind of new professional accountability growing. And traditionally, heads have been able to keep themselves to some degree to themselves. They've been able to keep information about what goes on in their schools to themselves. They've been able to guard the school from outside understanding or knowledge. That is disappearing. It's been progressively disappearing. But I think increasingly, heads are going to have to be open and honest with their fellow heads as the price you pay for deep partnership. And that may not come easily. I have to say, in my experience, the key to that is often open and honest communication.